Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Teach Me in 20. I'm Karis, and today we're all about to learn about something new. When I first heard about this, I thought it was just an excuse for a bunch of guys to stand around drinking and throwing something heavy, but urban axe throwing is legit a sport. And joining us today is a competitive axe thrower in Canada, Matt Brown.
Hello, Karis.
Hello, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome on. So I was shocked. First, I actually heard about this. A friend of mine in London went on a date axe throwing, which I thought was so cool. And then you said you do it as a sport. So this is growing momentum.
Absolutely. Well, when you first introduce it, you're not too far off the mark there. It is still just an excuse for a group of people to get together and throw some sharp shit.
But it's on ESPN. There is a World Axe Throwing League, which is a whole bunch of nations. There's an International Axe Throwing Day. Did you know that?
Yes.
June 13th.
Every day. No.
I mean, this is... how did you get started in it?
Right. So, like you said, it has really grown, which we'll get to a little bit later on, I'm sure. But my journey began in Whistler. Was living out there, and it was, funnily enough, it was a Valentine's Day event about 18 months ago now. And yes, I went along with my missus at the time.
At the time?
Same missus.
Oh, okay,
So
she survived the axe throwing.
Humble beginnings, yep. We But a friend invited me along, and I just walked into the venue and straight away was just blown away by, it was just electric, and people were just high-fiving and hugging and just throwing axes at wood, and I'd never seen anything like it before, but just straight away walked in and thought, wow, this is something different. And I think that event went awesomely well, and then I applied for a job, I think on the spot that evening.
At the Axe
that
Throwing
night,
Centre,
and then later in the week had my first shift, and 18 months later, I'm still throwing axes. So
you said it's unlike anything else. How is it different to other sports? Because it is a sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what sets it apart for me is how accessible it can be to so many different people, especially as adults. I think, coming from a sporting background, there aren't too many sports that we can just walk into as a complete beginner, never having done anything like it before, and then achieve a relative level of success in a short period of time, and especially something which is so sort of primal and I guess something so adventurous as just throwing something sharp.
So it does cater for all levels.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously with the right coaching and, there are things to look out for, but we definitely see a really high success rate. And as long as you've got a good attitude and a willingness to sort of, give it a crack, and that can be a challenge for some people, just to get past that initial feeling of this feels like almost a prohibitive thing, to just open yourself up to that, and I think once people do that, then they're really surprised. And regardless of if you're 12 years old or you're 65, I think it's there for you. So
there's juniors that play.
Yeah, well, we have a minimum age requirement, but for leagues and things like that.
Yep.
But
what's that?
We up to in our establishment 16.
Okay.
But there are youth leagues. Peterborough Axe Club in Toronto, they have a youth league, which I'm convinced are just the kids of the parents who throw in the adult league because they just want to bring them along, which is fantastic. But I think, and the kids, like I said, I had my little sister throwing in the backyard the other day, and she picked it up pretty quickly. And I think it's one of those things as well. The kids sort of think, oh, this is something I should be doing, but here I am and nailing it. So,
are the kids holding a normal sized axe?
Well, you can get lighter hatchets, but yeah. Pretty much.
Wow.
I mean, you're only looking at around 13 inches long most of the time.
Okay.
Not terribly huge, heavy axes, but you can definitely get variations for younger kids as opposed to older people, and that also comes down to the coaching as well. We have a few different axes out there, and there's so much variation in terms of what you can find to suit your style of throwing. So
it's like a tennis racket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So talk us through the competitive side of it and how the scoring works.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, it's sort of like, for people, to give people a visual aspect who have no idea, it's a bit like a dartboard.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's got bullseye and then rings.
Bigger than a darts board.
Yep.
You're looking at a square target made up of 5 panels of wood, and then you've got 3 rings. Well, I'm speaking from a National Axe Throwing Federation point of view. So there's 2 governing bodies, or 2 main governing bodies, I should say, who kind of set the guidelines on how you should paint targets, how you score points, how the leagues run, how many games you play in a season, what the playoff structure looks like, and how tiebreakers are settled. So, yeah, two different bodies.
And is that internationally, or is that just... Oh, okay, it's not just
internationally,
Canada.
So the majority of the leagues out there in the competition is mostly across North America. And then within that, I would say, I wouldn't be sure of the statistics, but it's probably about a 50-50 split in terms of the National Axe Throwing Federation and the World Axe Throwing League. Okay. So you mentioned ESPN earlier on. They got coverage of the World Axe Throwing League, Canadian Open or US Open or something like that. So we're a little bit different to that. We go through the National Axe Throwing Federation. So 2 different bodies. But the way that we score points and we have our targets is... You've got the bullseye, the black circle in the middle. You've then got a red circle around that and a blue circle around that. So you've got 3 kind of rings to aim at.
Okay.
And then on the outside, which is where it gets very exciting, you've got these 2 small green circles of joy, and we call them clutches.
Okay.
So they're worth 7 points. The bullseye is only worth 5 points.
Okay.
So if you really want to go big and just, go for broke on the 5th throw of your game, you can call for the clutch, and if you hit it, then you'll get 7 points.
So it has to be on the 5th throw?
Yeah, only on... So if we're talking competitively...
Yeah,
so we do 4 throws for the bullseye, preferably, and then the 5th throw, you can go for the bullseye if you want, or you can go big and call the clutch.
Do people go for the clutch?
Well, regularly. Well, I sort of live and die by the clutch.
Okay.
It's been the undoing of me at times, but no, I think it's always good to challenge yourselves, and I sort of preach that to our league members, and, you've got to start and you've got to go for it, even from week 1. Just if it's your first time, just give it a crack and start gaining that confidence, because down the track, if you stick with it, you'll be better off.
And so that's the federation scoring.
Yep.
How does that differ to wattle?
Yep. So you're right. Wattle, there's more circles. So instead of just having 3 circles, I think there's 5 circles.
Yep.
And then they have, instead of clutches, they have what's called kill shots. And the kill shots are smaller than clutches. So even more of a challenge.
And I think you get to go for them twice in a round.
Yeah.
The last time and I don't know, the 4th or something.
Yeah, I'm not 100% on those rules and regulations, but their hatchets and their distances are also allowed to be a little heavier. They're allowed to use heavier, longer hatchets and be...
As in like an axe?
Yeah.
That's the word for that.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So they're allowed to be a little further back too. So some subtle differences, but at the end of the day, still the same principle and same group of people, like-minded, coming together once a week to have a throw. And
yeah, absolutely. So is there tactics in it? You mentioned go big for the clutch shot. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it can just look like, you're throwing an axe at a piece of wood. But are there tactics involved?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
No.
I thought you were going to be like, yes, no. So listen in.
No, it's really sort of more of a mental game against yourself at the end of the day.
Must take immense concentration.
Yeah, it can, yeah. You've got to find what works for you. Okay. Get into that good headspace and have that for some routine, or for some people a lack of routine. Some people like to not think about it too much, and, I've definitely played around with a few different approaches. So still haven't really figured one out, but yeah, I'm sounding them arms shaking.
So what does training involve? Because we chatted before this, and I mean, to call you an athlete, I mean, could we call these people that are, the top level axe throwers, are they athletes, or are they more like...
Well, we love drinking beer. As well.
There's not a lot of endurance.
Food nutrition probably not in that regard. But no. Look, to be brutally honest with you, the people at the top of the the people at the top of the sport and the industry, time. As you know from your own background, it really putting in the time and finding that muscle memory, and like I said, a lot of it's mental. We all know we can hit clutches. We all know we can, hit them fairly regularly. And what sets the best from the rest is their ability to slow down, to concentrate, to find that and deliver that set skill over a period of time when you're under fatigue and pressure setting. So
when you said time, then I thought you meant they actually under a time clock.
No. Just time in the lanes, I think.
Okay.
Understanding throws and the sport's continually changing. So they're introducing, subtle changes to rules and new axes are coming out, and, there's all these different variations that the best, and most of the industry are always trying to, if you're serious about it, you're trying to find little changes and little things that are going to help you, whether it be a different axe or, a different way to set up or a different way to throw. So
with that as well, the technique side as well, I wanted to, So, I mean, it's one-handed or two-handed, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you stepping? Are you throwing?
There's different preferences. The two hands is a little bit easier to keep straight, especially for beginners.
So juniors would do that?
Yeah, perhaps.
Okay.
So we typically, if we were to have people doing it for the first time, we would encourage them to start with two hands, and then there are different methods in terms of do you step or do you rock, and sort of just shift your weight a little bit like that without stepping. But I've always found personally that the step has helped move the body forward into the throw, and therefore I've seen more success. So that's what we do. And then I think as you gain a little bit more confidence with the axe rotating and understanding how it's spinning and how much power and force is required, which is not a lot, then people tend to want to shift to the one hand, and there's a little bit more. Everyone's different. You can't really generalise
Yeah,
here,
no, just to get an idea.
There's really awesome throwers that throw competitively with two hands,
Okay.
and still in the top 30 and rah. But I think for the most part, throwing with one hand just eliminates a few variables that you can eliminate to stabilise your throw and your control. So that's typically the way it goes, is progressing onto the one hand, and then more of a flicking action than a big throwing action using the shoulder. So it resembles more towards like what you would see with a dart throw, or a successful beer pong shot, perhaps. But yeah.
Has anyone ever been injured?
Yeah, look, safety's it's one of the number one things that everyone goes to and say, oh my goodness, you're throwing an axe, but look, what you don't really have an appreciation for it unless you're willing to see it.
Yep.
And once you see it and you come up and you understand, you get your head around that first obstacle of that barrier, which is it's an axe throwing something sharp. It's really just like any other sport.
Well, I mean, it's no different to say like hunting. You've got a gun.
Exactly. There's inherent injury and risk in every sport, right? But I think I wouldn't be able to quote the stat on it, but I think within the backyard axe throwing league at Battle, they've got a record of every axe thrown, right? It's in the millions of axes, and they're incident free. So, for all of you listening who are wondering, is it a safe thing? Just go and have a look at it, or just better off just go and do it. And then, because there's these viral videos and things that surface and they don't do it justice, and that's what everyone sees, and it just plays into that sort of the barrier that it's not a safe thing. But I've been doing it for 18 months now, coached hundreds of sessions, and really as long as the person leading the session develops that rapport with the group and is on the ball and setting the tone and aware of what to look out for and guiding it properly, you're not going to have an issue. Yeah. So, but yeah.
It has, I mean, obviously it's people aren't sort of scared off by that safety issue of it. I saw, with all these viral videos, speaking of, I saw Justin Timberlake, just throwing an axe. So what do you think has contributed to its popularity and made it grow so quickly?
I think it is that inherent sort of activity, which is something a little different. And then I think
the lumberjack inside everyone.
Yeah, people talk about that release of sort of energy, but it's never been that for me. I think everyone gets a little something different out of it. For me, it's about not releasing the energy, but sort of for me, it's about just getting into that happy place and where you're not thinking about anything else. But I think in terms of from a corporate point of view or an event like team building and things like that, there's a huge appeal there for people to come together and do a new skill, regardless of what it is. And if it's axe throwing, then it's something a little different. And as long as it's structured in a way that's accessible, that's where I think the coaching plays a huge part.
Well, from what I've seen, so these centres are popping up everywhere. There's
Yep.
one, two you mentioned,
Yep.
coming in Perth.
Yep.
I think we're the last to probably get them. They're all on the East Coast
Yeah,
already.
yep.
And as I said, around the world. But from what I've seen, you are from the social aspect, when people rock up, they're given a lane and there is also a coach assigned to them.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's great. You're instantly taught how to correctly do something,
Yep.
which doesn't happen at most. You know, you can go to a gym and just be left to your own devices.
No, absolutely. I think that's what sets it apart. It's more of a hosting experience, I think, when you look at it like that. But having someone there who can create, and I think what we pride ourselves on where we are is our differentiation. So we're reading the group and we're giving them an experience that is tailored to what they need. If they're really competitive or if they're, battling a little bit or, catering for that, that's where the coach can really come in and structure the experience so that it is accessible still, and maybe they don't want the competitiveness, they want something which is more of a team game. That's where I think we need to provide that and then be able to identify what they're doing and how they're doing it and how we can help them,
So do you get a lot of corporate people coming in?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
So what's the response? Yeah. I mean, are they apprehensive at first?
I love the corporates because it's such a usually quite a big event, so the atmosphere just goes through the roof.
Right.
Once it's good. People can sit back and have a chat, and then it's their turn. They come up, and usually there's food and some beverages around. So it's a really good. It brings everyone together, and just like I said before, the accessibility of it. I keep going back to that, but no matter if you're the boss or if you're no matter where you are in the company, you could be the winner of the game, or you can have a moment which is remembered around the office for years to come.
The clutch shot.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. We see it, and it's usually the most unlikely person that
Barry from accounts
nails it. Yeah, and that's all he's going to be talking about for the next year. He's brought home the board with him. You
can bring home the board.
Well, not often, but sometimes moments like that will, Barry from accounts wants to take home the clutch. We'll cut it down for him. He can bring that home. Everyone will sign it. No, but
because what do the top athletes win?
Yeah, so recently there was the Urban Open in Baltimore. And that was a $10,000 prize pool. So there's that's split
the total
across.
Pool,
that's split across. I think my the winner took home around about $4,000, and then 4,000 or 5,000, and then it's divvied up between the top 10 or something like that.
Okay.
But there's not a huge amount of prize money in there, just as
growing.
It grows. But it's enough to fund the travel for most of the top 20 throwers. It's more just the people who are not really at that in the prize pool that can be a little bit more to afford trips to throw competitively. So.
What about the wattle? So the stuff we're seeing, on ESPN, which is getting coverage.
So I believe that there could be a little bit more involved in that.
Okay.
But that's more towards the competition, like the big top 50 competitions, Whereas to win a league or something like that, each place kind of has their own prize. So we might give away a big new axe, or we have a trophy and stuff like that. So it's really up to sort of the venue. If you're looking at it from a sort of a grassroots level, what they'll award for their league.
And these leagues you're talking about, they actually have to meet specifications, or they have to actually be accredited or approved by.
Yep. So if we wanted to start a league downstairs here, then we'd get in touch with the federation, and then we'd send them pictures and make sure the lanes were within the certain specifications. And
so take it really serious, like it's all legit. Yeah.
Well, and that allows consistency across all of the venues, so that that if I was to go throw an axe at Maniacs just opening up here, or NATF, I would expect the same thing as if I went to join a league at Escape Manor or at Forged in Whistler, or wherever it is. So that's good, and that's what you need if you're going to be regulating scores across the world.
Yeah, for sure. Is it just singles, or is it doubles or?
Yeah, so singles primarily. But then there are various sort of skills tournaments which you can throw in a pair, or so we could throw side by side.
Okay.
At the same time.
Oh, all right. So it's not you throw then I throw. It's we're throwing at the same time.
Yeah, that's a doubles. That'll be a doubles.
Not at the same board though.
At the same board.
Oh.
Yeah. So that requires obviously a little bit more of an advanced skill, just axes hitting and landing on each other. And you see the odd, it's called a Robin Hood, when an axe lands in the back of another axe.
As in the handle?
Yeah, so see you later. That's a brand new axe right there.
No.
So there's inherent risk involved equipment-wise. So we tend to stay away from that. We love our axes too much to try that. We're not good enough.
How much is an axe to buy?
Yeah, well, I went to Tool Mart around the corner here the other day and got one of the same similar ones that we throw with back in Canada for $40. So hatched for $40. It really does depend though. That's pretty much par for the course, around $40 to $50 if you want to get a nice one.
So you can just go to a hardware store.
Yeah, I went to Bunnings the other day and got an $8 one. A bit heavier, a little bit bulkier. Kind of had the, I don't know, the handle wasn't a wooden handle. It was, I don't know what you call it, like a fiberglass handle or something like that.
So could we see down the track Wilson producing axes?
I don't know. It would
Battle hat.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like I think with the hickory core, and you'd have to. I don't know what Australia would sort of go to, whether they would just use hickory and get that imported. Because I don't think we have many hickory trees here in Australia. So whether or not Australia develops its own core, and then you can resin, you can do what you can sort of coat that core with whatever wood you want, really. So. Or you can just use hickory. So,
are you having to after each throw, sharpen the axe, or after each comp? Is there any maintenance involved?
We do love making excuses. So if the axe doesn't stick, we'll probably just go and get the file and just be like, oh yeah, that was a bit dull, that one, But no, it's look, once before the league night starts, you probably just give it a grind, and that's more of a mental thing as well. You just know that your axe is nice and good to go. So. Yeah, usually go and do a little collective of everyone's axes before Tuesday starts, and just give them a bit of a once over, bit of a touch up, and wish them all the best.
That's good. Is it mainly a male dominated sport, or have you got females that play in the league?
No, absolutely no. What I love about it, like we were talking about it before, we keep coming back, is accessibility. So the females come in and they just lap it up. Almost, I would say, you come in for a hen's night or something, they come in and they're just killing it.
Yeah, that would be so much fun.
But no, across our league, we're 50-50. So we've got just, in our league at the Manor. So, and we find that really just adds to the community sort of aspect of it. Looking at it competitively from the top 30, predominantly are male. But we're seeing a big rise in, I think Babe from Urban Axes in Baltimore was the first female to hit a 75 average, which is crazy. That's perfect. Pretty much perfect.
Really? Okay.
So, the women are just leading the charge, and there's Facebook pages and Instagrams dedicated to the women of axe throwing, and it's I wouldn't say it's a male right at the higher echelon, but in terms of the community and how many people are involved in a grassroots level, I would say it's very much a mixed environment, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Matt, this has been so interesting learning about, and this is what it's all about, like learning about something I had no idea existed.
Yep.
And just getting more info on it.
Yeah. No, it's not something that I thought I would ever be talking about.
Well, good luck as well for all your comps. For everyone at home as well who wants to learn more or even follow you, you've got a YouTube channel about axe throwing.
Well, I wouldn't say that. It's a bit of a loose podcast that we have a bit of a yard about our weekly league on a Tuesday. So
hey, if people are interested, where can they find you?
So it's just called the Clutch Cast.
Great name.
So
we now know why it is called that.
Yeah, there you go. So it's good fun. Hats off, stats off is a very big segment that we look forward to. The hats come off and the stats come out. It's a good bit of fun, and we love what we do out there. And I can't wait for Australians to keep getting around it, and for particularly people in Perth to be able to experience it very, very soon.
I cannot wait to go try it. I'll let you know how I go.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll get some more tips.
Yeah.
But thank you for telling us all more about urban axe throwing.
No worries.
Good luck for your next comps.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
See you guys.
See you later.
See you next time.
Yep. Clicks and drinks.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Teach Me in 20. Who would have thought urban axe throwing, hey? It's a thing. If you did enjoy that ep, and if you learned even just one thing, make sure you show some love, hit it with a like down below, and subscribe to Teach Me in 20. That way each week you can keep up to date with the next ep and keep learning something new with me. See you then.